Today I want to show you a simple GUI that I written in Java Swing, and this GUI asks you to guess a state's capital city. There is like 50 different states in the United States, and each state has a capital city, and it asks you what's the capital city of Alabama, for example, and it gives you four options. So you have to guess it. If you get it right, you will get 1 point. If you don't get it right, you don't get any points. So each state has a different options, and your job is to guess the correct answer. So it's really simple GUI, and it will teach you a lot about Java and how to use action listeners, buttons, JPanels, and those kind of concepts in Java. So if you want to see how to create this GUI, watch it and let me know what you think. For example, if I click Alabama, if I click wrong answer, nothing happens. If I click Montgomery, the background changes. If I click Alaska, the capital city of Alaska is Juneau. If I click Arizona, the capital is Phoenix. Arkansas is Little Rock. California is Sacramento. I only did the first 5, but you could easily do all 50 if you wanted. The logic is the same. So, and I have all the states, all the state capitals in the file that I will post in GitHub. So watch it and let me know what you think. First thing would be we have to create a state class to store the states. You will say state. So in order our quiz to work, we has to have our quiz has to have a question, 4 answers, and the correct answer. So say string to be a question, option 1, option 2, option 3, and option 4. And lastly, an answer. I will create an empty state, an empty constructor, I mean. And after we do that, we will make IntelliJ create the constructor and getters and setters for us. So we'll say generate a constructor. It will take all these fields whenever we instantiate this class elsewhere, and also we have to create a getter and setter for the states, for the state class. So I think we are finished for this class. This class's job is to, whenever we instantiate this class, it will take a question, 4 answers of that question, and it will also take an answer for this question. So the question would be, what is the capital city of Minnesota or Alabama? And then you will give 4 answers, and you will give the answer for that state. And whenever we store all the states in this class, we will do these getters and setters would get as the questions and the answers for us. So it's really simple for this class. Next class would be to create a quiz class, which would give us a GUI, a window to store the questions and the options. We'll say quiz. So first thing would be to extend JFrame. And it will implement action listener. And the reason I'm doing action listener is to attach actions to each state. Whenever the user presses a state, I want to get the information associated with that state. So this action listener needs one method called action perform. So I have to add this to the class, and this would we have to create a constructor for this class, and at the end of it we have to call the set visible of the JFrame that we extended, and set default JFrame exit on close. This method would give us the functionality of what happens when you click the X of the JFrame. In the last video or last section, we created a state class which stores the question for options or for possible answers and an answer. And I added 2 methods which would return the states and their capital names. Both methods return array list. So first I created 2 array lists. One is called states and the other is called capitals, and I stored the capitals array, different capital names in the United States, and I stored the states in different state names, all 50 of them. Those 2 methods are new to you if you were following the last section, and I will post it in my GitHub account, so don't worry, you will see the 2 methods. After we added those methods, we have to create a new class called quiz. This class would extend JFrame and would implement action listener. Action listener has one method called action performed, so we have to implement that. So our class has a lot of field members. So I already created the field members beforehand, because I didn't want to take this video to take a long time, so I call it containers. It's in the snippets folder, and I will explain all the field members in a second. And after I paste it, the first thing I created is called it's an array list, which would hold the states. States is here, that the object that we created earlier in this series, and it will hold all the state names and their capitals. I created a cPanel called main panel, which would hold all the components. I created here a state container, which would hold all the states. It will hold the array list of states inside. Here is the question label. So basically, the first question of the guess game, it will ask us. Here is an array of J buttons. I called it states, which would be 50 of them. This would represent all 50 states. And here I created 4 different choices, choice 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would represent the choices of each question. And lastly, here I created a J scroll pane, because I want to scroll different states in the top of the window. So that's why I created the J scroll pane. The J scroll pane would take the states container as an argument. So after that, we have to create a constructor for this class. We'll say quiz. The constructor, the last one, would be set visible to true. This is because we want to see the window. Set default, close operation. We'll say JFrame, X even close. Say set size. You'll say 400 by 500. You'll say add to main panel. We have to add the main panel to the frame itself, and then we'll say main panel set layout null. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to set each component exactly where I want in the screen, instead of the cPanel choosing for me. After that, we have to initialize all 50 states. We have to initialize that, and the easiest way to do that is to use for loop. We'll say for loop int I 0 I less than states length I is incremented by 1 each time. We'll say states I new J button, and it will just say string value of I, and then you will say states I add action listener to this. And the reason we are doing this is because we want to attach action listener to each state or each button, so that when we click it, we get the specific information associated with that state. Then we have to add state container, states container, add states. After we initialize after we initialize the states, we have to also add main panel, add scroll pane. Also, we have to add the scroll pane to the main panel. Also, we have to set where the scroll pane would sit in the screen. We say set bounds 10, 23, let's say 360 and 60 pixels high. After that, we also want to initialize 5 states. We have to initialize 5 states, but instead of just storing a number to the J buttons, why not store it with an actual state names? Say state name get state name get I. So each time the button is created, this will go to the state object, and it will get a state name from it. And also we want to create 5 different states. Here we will say we have to add 5 stages to the all states. Here we just only created an array list which contains state, but we haven't initialized any state for this. So we have to initialize 5 different states. We'll say all states add new state. So each state takes 5 arguments: a question, 4 answers, and the correct answer. So we'll say what is the capital city of Alabama? So that's the first question. So the answers would be, so we have to draw it from the state itself, the state capitals. You have to draw it from there. So we will say new state get capital names. We'll just pick a random capital city from our array list. So we'll say 36, new state get capital. You will say 11, new state get this option would be the correct one, which is 0, and last option would be state get capital name, let's say 22, and lastly we have to give the correct answer for this one. We'll say get 0. So these are the 4 options. This is the correct answer, and this is the question. This is the 4 options, this is the answer, and this is the question. The 4 answers must have the correct answer within it, and we have to give it for the last part the correct answer. So we have to create 4 objects of this. So I will come back when I finish this. I finished all the states. I created all 5 states. So each state has a question, 4 options, and the correct answer. So we have Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, and California. So the next thing we have to do is to set the question label and where it would sit in the screen. So let's say 50, 105 to 300, and it will have a 40 pixels height, and different choices we have to set where they will sit also. So 50, 160, 200, and they will have 40 pixels high. So you have to set all 4 of them. So 2, 3, and 4, and each time we have to add 40 pixels to 40, and lastly to 80. Then we have to add it to the main panel. First the question label, second the choice. So we have to add 3 more choices. So it would be 2, 3, and 4. So we added the question and the choices to the screen. What do we want? In order, so let's run the program and see what we have so far. So all the questions, all the states are in a horizontal line. In the top of the screen, Alabama would be the first, and last would be Wyoming. And here are the choices, the question. So what we want is to this question to change when we press the state, and the choices to change as well. So to do that, we have to go. So I have to dismiss this. We have to go to here to the action performed method. Then first we have to say string state clicked. So say get action command, and we have to use switch statements. The first case would be Alabama, and it would be a break, and I only want to create 5. So Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, and lastly California. So the first thing, what do we want to do when the user clicks Alabama? First thing would be to set the question label. So say question label, set text. So we'll say all states get 0, get question. And we have to also change the choices. Choice 1, set text to all states, get 0, get option 1. So we have to change you have to copy 4 more times, 3 more times, and say 2, 3, and 4. This will not change because we are in the first question, which would be Alabama, but this has to change. We'll say 2 and 3 and 4. So we will just copy this and paste it in Alaska. One thing that would change is number 1, and here is 1, 1, 1, 1. And the reason we are saying 1 is because Alaska is the second element of the array that we created. The first element would be 0, which would be Alabama. The second would be 1, which would be Alaska. The third would be 2 in the array, and third, we'll say 2, 2, here would be 3 for Arkansas, and lastly California would be 4. So whenever the user clicks a state, the question will change and the choices will change. So let's run it and find out if that's the case. Alabama. What is the capital city of Alabama? Is it Salem, Boise, Montgomery, or St. Paul? Okay, let's check out Alaska. What's the capital city of Alaska? Is it Jackson, Annapolis, Montgomery, or Juneau? Juneau would be the correct answer if I'm not mistaken. How about Arizona? Is it Phoenix, Harrisburg, Boston, or Madison? How about Arkansas? Is it Topeka, Little Rock, Helena, or Oklahoma City? How about California? Is it Albany, Columbus, Sacramento, or Montpelier? Can't even pronounce it right. And so far our program works. Whenever we click a state, the question changes, the options change. So the next step would be to check whenever the user chooses an answer, if that answer is correct or not. We have to check. So before that, we have to create a method. Here says public static void refresh choices choices So this method job is to refresh the choices. So set opaque to true, choice 1, set border painted to true also, and I think that would be it for this choice. So it would be choice 2, choice 2, choice 3, choice 3, and lastly for choice 4, choice 4. Here we want choice 3. So I will show you why this method would be useful in a second. First of all, whenever we are in the first state, which is Alabama, we have to add the choice 1 to action listener, So if the first choice when clicked is the correct answer, what do we want to do? We want to change set border painted to false, choice 1 set background to color green. Also we have to say choice 1 set opaque to true. You have to change the background of the choice itself if the choice 1 is correct. How about if the choice 2 is correct? So we'll say to okay, but wait, we are just changing the color without checking the answer itself. So we'll say state Alabama, say all state get 0, say if Alabama get answer equals choice 1 get text. If that is the case, if the answer in the state of Alabama is equal to the choice 1, what do we want to do? We want to change the background of the button. So we want to copy this and replace it with this. So we will say, the state would be the same, but the choices are different. And here the choice would be 2. So we have to copy this one more, and you will say 3, and here 3, 3, and here 3. And lastly, for the state of Alabama, we have to say the choice 4, choice 4, choice 4, choice 4, choice 4. So that would be it for this state. So let's check if this works. Alabama, Salem is not correct, Boise is not correct, St. Paul is not correct. What happens if I click Montgomery? Oh yes, it changes. How about if I go to the next state? Here's the issue. The background is still highlighted to green. So we have to change that. So you have to say, after all the choices have been made, you have to call refresh, and also in the refresh choices, you have to say choice 1, set background new J button get background. Basically, to set the background to its default setting. So let's run it and see if it's working. Okay, Alabama, Montgomery, Alaska is still, there is an issue. Okay, what is the issue? Okay, yeah, the issue is when I'm calling, I have to call it from Alaska. I have to call it from there instead of here. I have to call it from here. So say refresh choices after I go to the next state. Okay, the first is Montgomery. Why is Montgomery also an option for Alaska? Why is it that? Let's find out. In our constructor in the quiz class, here's the place we set. Yes, yeah, it's here. That's why it's the third option. Let's change to 37 or 33. let's change to another capital city. And let's run it again. Alabama, Montgomery, Alaska, June. Nothing happens because we haven't added any code to the second state. But so far, the first state works just fine. Whenever we get the correct answer, the button changes its background. So in Alaska, we do pretty much exactly the same thing. So we go to, let's say, to the first to the first question, the first state, and we'll just copy the choice here, and we'll say we will paste it here, and we will change the state number to 1, and the choice will stay the same. And what else would change? The name would change. It would be Alaska, not Alabama. Alaska, and that would be it. And you have to copy this choice and paste it again, and say 2. The state would remain the same, only choices would change. And not lastly, but the third option would be 3, 3, 3, and lastly for the state of Alaska would be choice 4, choice 4. So let's check it out. So after we click Alabama, we say, what's the capital of Alabama? I'll say Montgomery. Say Alaska, what's the capital city of Alaska? Let's pick the wrong answer. Jackson, nothing happens. This, nothing happens. Bismarck, nothing happens. How about something should have happened here. The last one. Oh, yeah, here's the issue. 4. Okay, here's the issue. Two. So let's run it again. Takes a long time. Alabama, Montgomery, Alaska, June. How about if I go back to Alabama, would this stay the same or it will change? It will change. Alaska. Yeah, it's working as we expect. Every time we click a different state, their background changes, their information changes. So I will finish the remaining 3 states, and I will come back. All the states. I completed all 3 states, like Arizona, Arkansas, and California, and the program works just fine now if you run it. And if we choose Alabama and choose a wrong answer, nothing happens. If you choose the correct answer, it will highlight green. Alaska, Juneau, Arkansas, no, Arizona, Phoenix, Arkansas, Little Rock, California, Sacramento. So the program is working as we expect, but also we want to keep track of the correct answers. When the user gets a correct answer, we have to show it here. So to do that, we just go here, say static JLabel counter label. You say correct, and you say static int counter to start with 0, and in our constructor we will say counter label set bounds, and we will say 10 to 90 to 70, 300 and 40. And we have to add it to the main panel, counter label. So let's see if it shows up. I have to make it lower. So say 360 maybe. I think it's about right. It's about the right place. So each time we get it right, we have to increment, we have to update the label. To do that, we go to the switch statements. The first state would be Alabama, And if the first choice is the correct answer, you want to say counter equal 1 plus 1, and we say counter label set text to nothing first. So label and say counter. So we have to copy this and copy each time, copy paste to the choice 2. But we want to copy all. We want to copy the counter as well and paste it here. Each time the user gets correct, you want to update the counter and print it. And I think we did all 4 options. So let's check for the first state, if it is updating or not. Okay. If I guess a wrong answer, nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. But when I press Montgomery, there is 1 there. Nothing happens for Alaska because I haven't added anything to it. So in Alaska, you could paste the same thing. It's not that difficult. You just paste to the choices. If the choice 1, 2, 3, or 4 is correct, you would paste it here. You could also create a method. That way you don't have to copy paste anything. But I'm just doing this because I want to show you how to do it. Alabama, Montgomery. So how about if I go to Alaska and choose Juneau? As you can see, is 2. The correct is 2. If I choose the wrong answer, nothing happens. So that would be it for this video. I hope you guys liked it and can create a quiz, a GUI quiz in Java. All this all this code, I will post it in my GitHub account. Everything. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Thank you and have a nice day.